Unboxing the machine. You can use a screwdriver or a set of needle nose pliers to remove the staples from the box. The first box you'll find contains all the parts to the machine. Once you take that out, you'll find the instruction. Remove the styrofoam and the machine will be right underneath. Tip the box over . Slide the styrofoam and the machine out . Then separate the two styrofoam shells from the machine. Very carefully use the box cutter to cut the tape around the styrofoam . And gently lift the styrofoam off of the machine. Once you have the styrofoam off, you can place the machine onto a flat surface. Take this time to inspect the machine and make sure that everything is in order. Using your box cutter, let's open the parts box. Let's see what's inside. You'll find a set of screwdrivers. This is the lower end unit of the sewing machine. This is the lower end of the presser foot release mechanism. This is your belt shroud and cover. Here you have your auto bobbin winder. There's a bottle of oil, your drive belt, your drive pulley, and the screw for the drive pulley. This is your thread assembly unit. This is part of your take-up lever push rod assembly unit. Here you have an assortment of washers, screws, nails, shafts, bobbins, and magnet. And finally, you'll find a bag of needles, a drop shaft, some rubber feet, the swivels for the machine, the stop block, and some other rubberized accessories. Insert the rubber bushings into the corresponding slots. The two long gray ones will go towards the back. The tall gray ones will go on the front. And the little black ones will go towards the back. Use the provided nails to secure these onto the table. You might want to start the nail with the hammer, then switch over to a punch to just barely place the head of the needle just under the surface of the rubber. So don't push it in too tight. You want the nail to be nice and snug. Don't hammer the nail in too deep. It should just barely sit at the surface of the rubber. Don't go too deep because you'll go right through it. You're going to use the silver shaft that has a little slit in it for a C-clamp and also a hole. The C-clamp will go towards the front of the machine and the hole is going to go towards the back, but in this case we just have it upside down. This is what's going to connect the push rod to the shaft, and that screw is going to go into that hole right there. Make sure that they align. First, you'll remove the screw or back it up just a little bit so that the shaft can go through it. Make sure you go through the lower pan first and then go through the shaft. Next, we'll install a spring. We have to put the spring first with the short end towards that mechanism, and the long end is going to fit right in that little groove. So make sure that the short end goes underneath that lever. Now push everything in place and your machine should articulate just like that. I will take the screw that we removed and put it back in and make sure that it goes through the hole into the shaft. They both must connect. Once that's connected, go ahead and insert your C-pin. You can tap it in gently or use a pair of needle nose pliers to press it into place. Now you can adjust that nut and bolt assembly to determine how far up and down the pressure foot goes. You can always make adjustments after the unit has been put together. Finally, you'll take your coupler and secure it to the end of the shaft. Finally, take your push rod, insert it into the hole, and it will rest on the metal cup of the assembly underneath. If you articulate the coupler, the push rod should go up and down. Inside your parts box, you'll find the 4 little rubber grommet feet. Insert them into the holes on the metal pan. The presser foot lift assembly should go on the right-hand side of the table. Place your push rod into the hole and take your machine attachments and insert them into the holes onto the back of the machine. Now gently lift the machine and place it down so that all the holes match, and place the hinges into the rubber grommets on the table. Once in place, the machine will lay flat on the table as shown. You'll take the bolt that's on the knee pad coupler and loosen it so you can take the knee pad and slide it up and down depending on how tall your knee is. You'll then take the short end of the knee pad shaft and put it into the coupler that's connected to your push rod system. Again, this can be adjusted to fit your personal preference. Once you have it the way you like it, you can tighten everything down. If you need to change the angle, you can always loosen the top nut on your coupler and make adjustments as necessary. Installing the belt pulley, the belt, and the belt guards onto the machine. On the shaft that's protruding on the right-hand side of the machine, you'll find a flat spot. there are two corresponding set screws on the pulley that must be inserted into this shaft. The arrow will indicate the outer portion of the pulley. Take one of the set screws and place it on the flat end, and don't push the pulley all the way in. Leave about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the shaft to the edge of the pulley. You don't want to push it flush or all the way in. So take your first set screw and tighten it down with your flathead screw onto that flat part of the shaft. Once that's nice and tight, you can then secure the next set screw. It is imperative that one of those set screws sit on the flat part of the shaft. Otherwise, it will loosen and it won't grab on the shaft and it'll slip. And again, give yourself about 1/8 of an inch gap between the edge of the shaft and the edge of your pulley. And it should turn. Always turn it towards you. Once the pulley is secure, you'll take your guard connecting shaft and screw it into the side of the machine, just under the pulley. Use your flathead screwdriver to secure it in place. Once that's in, you'll take your belt and place it over the pulley and through the slot on the table. Make sure that the guard connector shaft is between the belt. Remove that little clip off of the guard and place it over the belt and the pulley. Make sure that everything aligns properly. You're going to use these two screws to secure the guard to the machine, but only put one of them first. The one that has the slot where you took off the cover, we're going to insert that one in first and tighten it down, but not over tight, just enough to hold it in place. Once that one is in place, you can move the guard a little bit left or right in order to get it to connect to the guard shaft that we installed previously. Make sure not to cross-thread the screw onto the shaft. Once you have that one connected, you can then place the final screw onto the final hole on the guard and secure it in place. The pulley should not rub on the guard. There are 3 screws that hold the lower belt guard in place. They are a keyhole screw, so you'll need to slide the assembly until the 4 screws match the holes, then you can gently pop it out. With the guard removed, you can articulate or push the motor towards the machine. And slide the belt over the pulley. With the belt in place on the motor pulley and hand wheel, apply moderate downward pressure to the motor, which will increase the tension on the belt. While applying pressure to the motor, lower the top screw until it meets the motor bracket. Once the top screw is set, you can then take the bottom screw and tighten it towards the motor. With both nuts in position, you can tighten them down with an adjustable wrench. Now, very carefully place the cover guard back onto the machine. You'll need to match up the 3 keyholes and then slide it into place, assuring that once it's in place, the guard doesn't rub against the belt as it's moving. Take your time. There's no need to rush. Once you have the guard in the right position, you can tighten the screws down. Again, don't over tighten the screws, just place them nice and snug. Now take the broad, flat head screw and place it into the shaft so that it holds the pulley in place. Make sure you screw it in tightly. Remember to place the little clip that you removed before to cover the screw hole. Snap it in place, it should snap in both ends. Finally, we'll insert the lower belt guard. Make sure that the door is closed and gently lift it up and in under the upper belt guard and secure it to the table with the 2 screws, making sure that it doesn't rub on the belt as the belt drives. Don't over tighten the screws yet. You can leave them loose to make sure that if you need to adjust anything so that if there's any rubbing, you can move it left or right. Once you have it well placed, you can then tighten the screws. Take your head block stopper and put it into the table, and you can tilt the machine down and let it rest on top of it. Assembling and installing the thread stand rack. Take the lower thread stand, which will be the metal bracket that has no thread guides on it, and insert one end of the thread pole into it after removing the washer and the nut. And you're going to be using the outermost holes, not the inner holes. So put your lock washer in and then put your nut. It's going to be an 8mm nut, and tighten it down. Then repeat to the outer hole. The thread poles should be on top of the flat part of the bracket. With the poles pointed up, grab the lower rod that has the nut and washer on it and slide it down about halfway and tighten the screw using a number 2 Phillips screwdriver and an 8mm open-ended wrench. You'll take the coupler and pre-assemble it by inserting the nut and the bolt, but don't tighten it right now, just kind of get them threaded. This will make the assembly a lot easier. Once you have everything threaded, you'll slip it on the top portion of the lower thread bar, tighten it, then insert the upper thread bar on top and tighten that one down. Once both pieces are aligned, tighten it with the Phillips screwdriver and the 8mm wrench. Remove the black cap from the top of the pole and slide the upper thread guide approximately 1/3 of the way down. Use your number 2 Phillips head and your 8mm wrench to tighten it down. Make sure that both lower and upper thread guides match. Now you'll take your lower thread cup with the bowl facing up and slide it down the thread pole until it snaps onto the base of the pole. Those little notches on the bottom of the pole will help it snap into place and lock it in. Once that's done, you're gonna put your foam pad into both bowls. Once we're done with that, you'll insert the thread cone center guide and place that one last. That's gonna keep your cones nice and centered on the poles. Remember to replace the black cap on the top of the pole. Now you're gonna remove the nut and the washer, leave the rubber washer and the solid steel washer on top. Don't remove those. Place it in the hole all the way down, and underneath place your washer first, then the nut, and tighten with an adjustable wrench. Depending on how much room you have, you can either put the pole in this orientation where it's parallel to the back of the table, or you can put it parallel to the side of the table. Putting it on the side of the table will allow you to open the machine a little bit more easily, but either way will work. It all depends on how you like your setup. At this point, if you need to make any adjustments to the height of the thread, go ahead and do so at this time. Remember to use a number 2 Phillips screwdriver and an 8mm socket wrench or an 8mm open-ended wrench.